it's Sherri from A Quilting Life, and I'm here today to share the finishing tips for our Harbor Row Quilt Sew-Along. We've made all the blocks, you probably have all of your rows put together, and I told you that I would come back at the end and just share a few thoughts and tips for putting your quilt together. I've also got a few other ideas for just what I'm going to do with some of my extra little sample blocks, and just going to talk about that and really hope that you'll just enjoy wrapping up this quilt before the end of the year. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, let's get started about putting this quilt together. I just want to point out that all of the rows are separated by a sashing row. So there are 8 of them of these sashing rows all together. Don't cut the sashing rows until you've assembled all of the rows for your quilt. So you've got the 7 rows, the houses, the flying geese, the 2 different flower rows, the suns, the baskets, and the stars. So what I would do, and what I really recommend, is that after you get all of your rows put together, you actually just get out a piece of paper and a pencil, or make a note in your pattern, and just measure all of the rows flat. Either put them on a bed or a table if you have one that's that big, and measure each row and write it down. Now, if your rows come out and they're within 1/4 of an inch of each other, you're good to go. Just cut your sashing as directed and just use that measurement that all of your rows are closest to for your sashing. Okay, if your rows are all fine, you're good to go like I mentioned. But if you have some big variances in the size of your rows, you're probably going to want to add strips where needed to lengthen those shorter rows. Another thing you can check is also check your seam allowances. For example, you might have sewn your seam allowances a little bit bigger than 1/4 of an inch if your row is too short. Or maybe you sewed your seam allowances smaller and that made your row too long. But if you've got some big variances, like an inch, I would say, you might want to then add additional fabric on the ends of each row. What I try to do is add the same size rectangle on either side. If it's a little bit, if that's going to make it too small, you might just want to add to one side. But ideally, if you can add a rectangle of the same width to either side of your shorter rows and make them the same length as your longer rows, it's gonna look aesthetically pleasing, and you're not going to have to go back. Most of these rows, you're probably going to know right away if you're going to need to do that. But I really do suggest writing it down, because I've done that before and then I wasn't able to remember, oh, which row was shorter, which row needed an inch, which row needed 2. But so anyway, write down the lengths of your rows, and again, if they're pretty close, then you'll be fine. And when you sew these sashing strips, press all of your seams toward the sashing. And then you are going to, at the end, sew the left and right sashing strips and press toward that. And then you're just going to be adding your borders as usual. And that's really all there is to it. I used the Dresden print for the backing on this one, and I did the stripe for my binding. So anyway, this has been a real favorite quilt. I did also want to show you, because last month I was working on the sunblock and I didn't have it put together yet. So I wanted to show you that I did get my sun put together. I have actually decided that I'm not going to use this. I'm probably not going to use it with these. It was just getting to be kind of a pain to figure out what I was going to do. But I did want to show you an idea, because I had earlier made this little sampler. And I think I'm going to do another sampler, but what I'm going to do this time is Let's see. I've got a basket. I think I'm going to just make 3 more of the stem and leaf blocks, because that will kind of be the easiest. And instead of having 2 baskets in my other sampler, I'm just going to put my little house. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this chambray for my background, and I think I'm going to do a pillow with this one. This one's going to go on the wall, the one that I already made, but I think it'll be really fun to do a pillow with and have the chambray as the background. It just looks so lovely with this collection. And I might end up putting the sun on the back of my pillow in the backing, incorporating that somehow. So that's kind of what I've decided to do with these, and hopefully I'll be showing you this in an October or a November works in progress video, and I can kind of guide you a little bit more once I get that put together. I hope you've enjoyed sewing along with this, and let me know in the comments if you have another one of my patterns that you'd like me to do a sew along for. I think that would be awesome to get that feedback from you. So yeah, go ahead and leave that in the comments. Okay, so that's it for our Harbor Row Quilt Along. We started this several months ago, and it's been really fun. I've loved seeing all your progress. I know some of you finished early and have sent me photos of your quilt, and I've really enjoyed seeing those. If you're just finding out about this, the videos are always going to be up and available on our channel here, so you could start at any time and just take it 1 row at a time. If you enjoyed today's video, please share it with a friend, hit the like button, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for stopping by.